Well, at this point, we're pretty done naming things on a computer. We're going to come up with some names for things as we move along. And when I see something and I go, you know what, we forgot to name that, we'll talk about it. We'll just stop. We'll talk about it then and there. But I wanted to point out some other things. There's some really basic stuff that we're just kind of glossing over in this series of lessons. But back in the Macintosh Basic Lessons series, we covered buying and unpacking a Mac, plugs and symbols, all the things that you'll see on the outside of your computer, where to plug the wires in, that sort of thing. I did some troubleshooting tips, went over the keyboard, the mouse, how to use a mouse, and the Finder just in general. All those lessons are free in the early Macintosh Basic Tutorial series. That was done back in 2006, and they're looking a little long in the tooth, but they're still relevant. And if you've got a hankering for just some more in-depth basic information before we ever even arrive at the Finder and the menu system, these would be the lessons to go to. They're still quite germane for this day and age, and I know you will really enjoy those if you want a little bit more in-depth training. I'll go ahead and put a link directly to that page under this video. Now we're in the Mac OS Compendium lessons, and we're going to take a look at the anatomy of a menu. Remember, across the top of the menu bar, this is called a pop-up, by the way, because this computer thinks it's the first time I've been on this website. It's asking me if I want to sign up for these 2 free preventive maintenance videos. I'm not going to do that right now. But across the top of the screen is your menu bar, and every application has a menu bar unless what? You're in that full screen mode. Remember that? Then the menu bar goes away. If you don't see a menu bar, you probably need to come up here, jam your mouse against the top, go to the View menu, and exit the full screen mode. So every application does have a menu system across the top. And let's talk about the anatomy of a menu since we're pretty much dealing with the Finder. I'll quit Safari. Let's close this window. And here we are in the Finder. So across the top of the screen is the Apple menu, and then this next menu is actually called the Application menu. Did you notice a few minutes ago that it said Safari? You could say this is the Finder menu, or if Safari was running, you could say it's the Safari menu, but what is Safari? What is the Finder? They are applications. So this is the Application menu. And then comes some other menu choices: File, Edit, View, Go, Window Help in the Finder. And in other applications, that menu is generally the same, but has kind of in diminishing return non-common items in the menu bar across the top. So we can't talk about the anatomy of a menu without talking about the menu bar across the top of the screen and how it changes from application to application. You go to a menu, you click your mouse on the item in the list and let go, and that action is performed. Rather than having to remember a bunch of complicated commands, they give it to you all in a menu system. You can just go into the store, look at the menu, and pick and choose, right? Well, in any given menu, you will see that it's kind of divided into sections by some little gray lines. These lines are just there trying to help us understand what's in the menu a little bit better by grouping things or like-minded things together. That's all those lines are there for. And when you highlight an item, obviously it darkens, it highlights. And off to the right of a menu is its keyboard shortcut. Keyboard shortcuts are really helpful, and we have a complete lesson series here on Acularian about keyboard shortcuts. Learn the basic keyboard shortcuts. This means if you hold down the Command key while typing a comma, this is the item that would be selected. If you want to empty the trash, hold down the Shift key, the Command key, and this represents the Delete key on your keyboard. Now you notice that there's some ellipses right after some of these menu items. An ellipse in a menu means that if you select this menu, something else is going to happen afterwards. You're not going to just perform an action. So if you go to the Preferences menu item, it brings up another window. So it didn't just perform an action, it actually brought up another menu item or another window. You can see that under Empty Trash, there's some ellipses, and it brings up a window. Are you sure you want to do this? We'll hit cancel for now. And then also in many menus, you will find a little triangle. This is a sub menu. It pops out a menu to the side, and you can use your mouse to drag over to the side. There's a little bit of dexterity that's required to do that, because if you go off of it, the menu goes away. So you've got to be, this is the dexterity portion of your test, all right? So you can practice that just sliding over to the right and then down. And not all menus have all of those things that are in common. Here's a guy down here that has just some tags that you can attach. We use these to assign colors to folders and things like that. Nothing particularly interesting in this menu. You can see the groupings fairly clearly there. Couple new keys here you can see. This one is that's a control key. This is the option key, the stair-step looking thing. And you will notice that some of these menu items are grayed out. If an item in a menu is grayed out, it simply means that that item is not currently an appropriate selection. So my hard drive on my desktop is not currently selected. So let me go select that. I just click on it one time, and I come over and look. The open command now is an appropriate selection. It's viable. So if something's grayed out, it's a no-go. It's not appropriate for that particular type of thing you're trying to do. That's what the grayed out items mean. And I don't think there's really anything particularly stunning or unusual about any of the rest of these menus. I will mention a little bit about the help menu here. It's kind of interesting because some features of it make the computer go out to the internet to access the current help files for your operating system. That's great. Awesome. Stays up to date, right? But what if you're not connected to the internet? That's a problem. So we'll be talking about the help menu in detail in a later lesson. Now, over on the right side, over here, you'll see that I have some small icons that are kind of stretched out across the top of my screen. I've got my clock. This is the current user account that I'm in. This is Spotlight. And then there's some things here for notifications. This is called the Notification Center. These little icons represent applications that are just at my fingertips, kind of easily accessed or currently running, and your mileage will vary. You won't see all of these on your computer. You may not see any of them. For instance, the sound is an option in the sound preferences pane that you can turn this on or turn it off. But this is the menu bar, and you've got a good taste of how menus are organized, what the features and the functions of a menu are, and how to use those features and functions simply by selecting them and then letting go. So that is our anatomy of a menu. Next up, let's talk about folders.